a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Sleeping Warrior, Flatzoid, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Hello.
Definitely not round.
Good morning.
Afternoon.
Nathan, just before we get into housekeeping, is the guy that was asking about the postal mail thing, is he there?
Oh my god. We interrupt this critical housekeeping regarding the nature of reality and existence in general for this important information regarding a law about whether or not disturbing the post may or may not get you arrested. Did you hear the response, my friend?
He said it was round at the end.
Is he listening? Is he there? Not there, is he?
More importantly, any evidence of physical, geometric, sphere-edge horizons, formerly known as Earth curvature? Any evidence of that?
Not from my buggy and horse.
Post office man?
No.
Any evidence? Physical, geometric, sphere-edge horizons? Formerly called Earth
Well,
curve?
we do have horses that traverse the
Oh god,
Right.
can we drop the bylaw nonsense we were talking about in the pre-show? Very funny for those of you who are watching this on a Tuesday if you're a member and you're special. However, nature of reality, hello.
Is that the place where boats used to go over?
That's the one. It used to block things in the distance with its physical nature. Hey, Arwin.
Hello, good afternoon. Oh, we're talking about the curve, are we?
Yeah,
No,
that
we're
missing
actually
Earth
talking about
curve,
the
that's
post.
right.
About the
We're
what?
talking about
My
horses.
grandson was over yesterday and he
horses,
still
cool.
gets reported at school the same thing.
Hey, it's
As
only
a proof.
Tuesday.
Horseback riding. I know a lot about horses and horseback riding.
I bet you do. Do you shoot bows and arrows at things off horses by any chance?
No, I've never done that before. You know, I don't think the people that had the horses would appreciate that. I don't think they're insured for that.
Okay.
But it would be cool. I could probably do
We
it.
interrupt this housekeeping session for a detailed explanation of the insurance rates on horses. My god, what is wrong with you?
Lloyd's of London, bow and arrow insurance. Come on, let's hear it.
Let's move on. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
None whatsoever.
No, we'll just assume that the Earth's turning because we see the sky appear to turn, and there just happens to be two rotation points. So rather than accept the equivalence that it could actually be the sky rotating, we'll teach all the children that the Earth's rotating, and then we won't get any evidence to measure it, but we'll calculate it, and we'll tell them that maths is good enough. That's what we'll do.
But what would they ever have had? Sorry, but what? Yeah, they would be in big trouble though during Ragnarok. You know. Because, hey, if there's no visible stars turning up there, then there's no suggestion beside that the Earth is turning in the first place, because there's no motion or anything. It's just those stars turning and all that. You know, if you don't see that, then how are you going to suggest the Earth is even turning?
Well, since there is an actual Coriolis effect, if the Earth was turning, there would be Earth-based Coriolis, and plane flights would be shorter going towards the rotation of the Earth. But since that's not happening, the Earth is not rotating.
I get that, 10th man, but...
Well, I just answered it.
No,
Yeah.
I know, I understand.
We know you know,
That's
Arwin.
where we are now. But what if there was no sky, no stars ever visible because it would be clouded all the time? If you would tell that to people from that era, they would be looking like, "What the hell are you talking about?
Well,
Where did
well,
you come
Arwen-
up with this idea that the Earth is turning?" See?
Well, Owen, South
You mean
African birds fly faster than European birds.
It's just a philosophy.
What?
Arwin, it's just a philosophy. It's just a way of contemplating or trying to wrap your head around the motion and movements of the lights in the sky. You know, to propose that we're stood on a sphere is merely a philosophical way of looking at those lights. Doesn't mean we are standing on a sphere. That's absurd. But it's just a way of contemplating those lights and their motions.
Okay. I don't know. It just seems to me like the star rotations and all that is the original anchor point to drive in the suggestion that there is an Earth turning in the first place. Because beside that, there's just nothing that would indicate it. Nothing at all.
Right. Well, there should be a 15 degrees an hour drift of things that leave the spinning reference frame. It's also claimed by heliocentrists that we do have 15 degrees an hour drift because we're on a rotating non-inertial reference frame, spinning underneath other things and watching them drift at 15 degrees an hour. As 10th Man pointed out, and I know you know this, Arwin, there should be 15 degrees an hour drift, right? We're told about it all the time. But there isn't. And when we point that out, we just get told why there isn't 15 degrees an hour as claimed to prove the Earth spinning.
And would that also not change with altitude?
We could get into the first law of thermodynamics violation that they'd have to infer to get around that problem when asserting there isn't a 15 degrees an hour drift flatsoid. But we're only in housekeeping. Feel free. Yeah, as they ascend in altitude, they should be traversing a greater circumference, therefore have to increase velocity to do so. And if they're claiming that they're travelling along Earth and atmosphere in lockstep, which is to defy the 15 degrees an hour deviation you're supposed to have, then that would violate the first law of thermodynamics. There you go. Done.
So the ISS cannot orbit?
Orbits is a begging the question fallacy. As soon as you say orbits, you're presupposing sphere Earth and things falling around them in this trajectory called an orbit. It's just a begging the question fallacy. Nothing's orbiting anything. You'll never show me anything orbit anything ever.
Right. If you say orbit, you're literally orbing it.
Any evidence that... Hey, QE.
That.
Sky. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No evidence for the distance to the sun.
I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is, but I still see a lot of daylight.
How do you know you're not just looking at a refracted image?
Don't ask Arwin that. My God, this will be 10 minutes. Go ahead, Arwin.
A refracted image.
You got a
What?
problem.
What type of refraction is that?
Yeah, hold on. Before we get into
just
the
a joke,
jokes,
by the way.
we've heard it all before. What's the problem?
What's the problem with the refraction?
Which kind of refraction are we using?
Yeah, they're using terrestrial refraction. It's a double-edged sword because they're invoking unknowingly, basically unknowingly, terrestrial refraction, which already assumes a sphere with a known radius, and the atmosphere, which also curves with that radius. That's a problem.
It's a double your
Because
trouble begging the question
have
fallacy
no
is what it is.
Second?
It's a double your trouble begging the question fallacy.
Yes, sir.
Can I put another scoop on top of that? Terrestrial refraction has never been established. It has only ever been assumed. Because
Yeah,
it
like
cannot
Earth
be
curve.
established because you would have to measure the geometry first, and they never got to that, even though they say they did.
Yeah, like Earth
That's
curve.
what I just said. That's one of the begging the question fallacies.
So then light doesn't follow a curve, path.
No. The light would have to follow the curved atmosphere. Atmo is gas. Sphere is a shape. Gases have no inherent shape.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. And all actual measured refraction only really works when there is a medium transit for the light to pass through. And then the path is deviated in a corner, never in a circular path. There's no demonstration of this besides dextro rotation, which is kind of unique.
You do realize this whole argument actually debunks their refraction claim against the black swan.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yes,
why I
we
put it
realise.
together.
Yeah, it's part of the argument.
Geniusly, may I say.
Nathan, can you read that question again from the beginning?
What, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Thank you. This is about the distance to the sun.
Well, I don't know. It's related. R, in their assumptions of bending light around a spherical surface, is what they use to get the distance to the sun. They assume the same R value. It's part of their astronomical distances. Any evidence of the R value?
No, that went away too.
Where's
That's a
chocolate?
model. That's,
Oh, yes.
that's just a value for a model that can't be realized in reality.
Yeah, it's just a reification fallacy. It only exists in the maths. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Sulfur hexafluoride.
That's heavy, man.
No, it's dense. It's not heavy.
But no, he's doing that. He's doing that because you got Dr. Phil Bellin. Well, he's not a doctor or a PhD. He's currently in the arena getting his ass handed to him over sulfur hexafluoride.
Yeah, we discussed it just before you got here. We will get to that. That's why I'm kind of rushing through the housekeeping questions. Speaking of Professor Phil Bell and being dense, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Never.
No. It's an impossibility, isn't it?
Yep.
No,
Non sequitur.
no, it shouldn't be an impossibility. They just never do it.
How can you do
Because
it,
they
Arlen?
can't.
Well, you would have to go there and then confirm
Go
or
where?
disprove
Go
the
where?
idea by trying to very manipulate anything about it. Well,
Go
let's
where?
get there. You know,
Go where?
to the
Yeah,
thing
how
that
we
they
get there?
presuppose should be there, even though
What,
we by now know it's not. But
Well,
Yeah.
how can they go to something that is not?
How do we
well,
even know
by
what
going
those
there and
things
then
are?
figuring out it's
How
not,
can you
they
go there?
disprove it, and therefore they at least tried.
They got a sky vacuum. It's not there. How are they going to get there?
You go that direction.
I agree. I had the same conversation in the pre-show with Anthony, right? Anthony's asking me about how things might, freeze in a vacuum because it gets very cold as the gas particles all spread out in all directions. And I'm like, well, in what vacuum? What are you talking about?
Really cold with the sun hitting it? I don't think so.
Well, we'll get to that second law of thermodynamics violation next time we ask about the sun, maybe. Speaking of sky vacuums, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Sulfur hexafluoride.
Nope, not at all.
Just a
You can
point.
pour it on a
How
scale
nice is
without
it
a
a closed
container.
system? Would that
Hey,
not mean a
entropy will
container?
affect sulfur hexafluoride.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
entropy rules.
Ah,
Yes,
Agreed.
entropy rules, that's right.
Yeah, but even the
That's what he
priests
told
say
my
it's a
son.
closed system.
So container.
That Flatzoid
Yeah.
says, say again, Flatzoid.
Even the priest Bill Nye says it's a closed system.
He's not really a priest. I don't know what you'd call Bill Nye.
A retard.
According to
I've-
them, he's clever.
a storyteller.
I've got a
Four-actor.
sciencey question. I want to sound all sciencey and ask this question
About
to
Walkerman.
the Globers.
Go ahead, Dr. Paul.
How can gravity decrease entropy?
No.
Gravity
Not
can't
even-
do anything.
Not
Gravity-
even existed. You're. Why even bring up gravity? Every time I hear it, it sounds like invisible three-toed gnomes.
Yep.
That you got a malformed question.
Yeah, the correct answer
Gravity
to that
can't
question
do
is...
anything.
Well, the thing. Oh, I know that. But that's the.
Let me
Well,
just answer
here's the
it.
thing,
Let me just
though,
hold on.
gravity
There's a
can
correct,
keep the
there's a
gas
correct
rates-
answer, Paul. Hold on. Just before we move on. I will let you. The correct answer is what's gravity? That's the correct answer.
Yeah. And the answer to
think
that
that's
hypothetical
big,
question is
Okay, well-
gravity is an effect. It can't cause anything.
Mathematical.
According to their current physics.
no.
anyway.
Well,
No. It's not even that. Gravity doesn't. It's invisible three-toed gnomes. According to their
Yes.
worldview, the pseudoscience that they're not parroting, then your answer is correct. But in reality, it's not anything.
Yeah, in the four-dimensional world that doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah.
That's true, Anthony. But that world isn't our world.
Trumpish's world.
Hold on. Paul, you've got more points. Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just kind of using their own argument against them because they basically, if they're saying that it can, which means it's preventing the gas from expanding into the volume, that means it's violating the second law of thermodynamics. So, and also so you have to say gas can decrease entropy by keeping the gas here. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right. They've got to violate the
from
second law of thermodynamics, a natural law, in order to have their worldview that the sky is a vacuum, Paul. That's correct. Yes, they stand in violation of natural law, believing that the sky is a vacuum. Correct. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
No.
P waves, S waves. I still don't know what it means.
Just don't say that bit. Don't say that I don't know what it means bit.
You'll have to edit it out.
Just say P waves and S waves, and we'll all roll over in defeat.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's established.
And then they dug down
science,
deep
right?
and found out that they were wrong.
Yeah, somebody just misinterpreted what they were looking at and said, "Oh yeah, that looks like a ball," and then somebody else said, "No, actually, it doesn't look like a ball at all. You just interpreted that," and then they all realised that was just an interpretation.
Bit like seeing a load of noise in a graph readout from a ping you've sent out from a radio telescope, things like that.
Yeah, and then holding the belief that must be the reflection of the radar ping back from Venus. And then when Bob from JPL in America confirms it, then everyone suddenly agrees with it.
And when they're looking, assuming that the time frame that they should be looking at would be based on a presupposed R value and the astronomical distance that R value being presupposed would give them to look in that area in the first instance, that would give them the ping return in the time frame based on their presuppositions, right?
So it's
As long
all
as they saw something that they could loosely interpret as a ping reflection, Nathan, then they would say, yeah, that's definitely a ping reflection. Especially if going to the moon depended on it.
Yeah, no one's been to the moon. Unequivocally, nobody's travelled through Narnia. Sky vacuum being that Narnia. We don't have a
What
sky
is the
vacuum.
moon?
Yeah, the moon is, that they describe in their fake videos with stop motion animation and backdrops. Their claim is that they travel to it through a vacuum. Well, the sky is not a vacuum. We wouldn't have any gas to breathe, so therefore the journey itself is completely debunked. They did not travel to the moon.
But Nixon spoke to them.
On the phone, right? On the landline.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he
I
got a
remember, I
better
was
signal than
little-
what we had
wee
over
little
Skype. How
child
did he do that in
watching it on the
1960,
telly.
whatever it was?
That's very easily done with 60s technology. You know, landline between his phone and the studio, no worries.
Yeah, but they lost the technology. Though,
I was going to
so
say
they
maybe they lost that technology as well.
That's a bait and switch. They want you to argue about whether or not they can transmit to their presupposed vacuum journey travel to moon and then prove or disprove that particular aspect of the argument. Like, similar to rockets working in a vacuum. What vacuum? Sky isn't a vacuum. Oh no, but if we assume it's a vacuum, rockets would or wouldn't work in it because. And then you can argue all day about whether or not rockets will work in a place that doesn't exist. When you could just say, yeah, the sky's not a vacuum. Who gives a shit whether or not you think rockets would work up there? Up there isn't a vacuum. That concludes the housekeeping. So how did you get on with Prof. Phil?
Just don't call him a professor anymore.
Just Phil, I call
let's
him.
call him just Phil.
Makes a lot of money, he says.
He goes on and
Well,
on
yeah,
about his
guys,
Merc and
babies.
stuff. And I get it, you know, if you've got a posh car, but it does kind of seem like he's probably got a small penis, given that he brags about it when he's lost an argument.
No, I think he uses it to make us believe that because he drives a Mercedes, he must therefore be correct.
Yeah, I use that appeal to Mercedes fallacy.
Yeah.
So wait, and I'm correct because I drive a Mercedes.
Yes. He's got a nice shiny new one, though.
No, I'm right. I got a
So he's more
Pinto.
correct?
I'm right.
Pardon, Paul?
No, I'm right. I got a Pinto. I'm right.
Appeal to Pinto fallacy.
What about
Oh
appeal?
my goodness.
What about appeal to push bike fallacy? If you ride a push bike, does that mean that you're automatically wrong?
It's a similar argument that we've had from other people, although we're taking the piss out of it because he did specifically use his Merc. It's the, well, lots of people earn money off talking about heliocentrism, and the general worldview or consensus opinion is that it's true. Therefore, if I'm making money from it, it must be right. How would I be getting a wage from it if it was just lies? That's kind of the argument that he's putting across. Look, I do this, and I do it with a heliocentric worldview and get paid very well for it, therefore I'm right. That's his appeal. It's pathetic, especially when he's like, well, I've got a Merc, and it's brand new.
Yeah, but Nathan, if we were engaged in Narnia, I drive around in a Lamborghini Aventador in Narnia.
Yeah, but it's sad. If you take it away from the argument, back when I was a rep and I drove a nice new shiny car, it'd be like me going in and talking to one of my dealers or a studio and saying, the guy who's trying to sell you my competitor's product isn't as good because I drive an Audi. It's brand new. Supercharged. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean?
Look, it's so simple about these people like Bell. They get programmed through the false teaching through the education system about a model that's abstract. It's not real. They just got pictures and drawings. There's no proof for this thing. And then they get a certificate. Then they get a job, and they think that they've learned something. And then they come on a show, and then Flat Earther ask a simple question, and then they're I'm the only one with a PhD here, and I have a Mercedes. Why do I have to prove anything?
Yeah. Thunderfoot did the exact same thing, not with me, but with a previous encounter he had with a fundie. And no offense to Christians, but this guy was a fundamentalist Christian. However, I'm not knocking Christians, just to get that in. This particular guy didn't want to debate science with Thunderfoot, and Thunderfoot's response was to say, if you want anybody to recognise anything you say as being creditable, then you've got to go out and get a degree, and you've got to go and get employment from these various companies who only employ people with a certain education level. Once you've done all those things, then you can be considered to speak science as I speak science. That's what Thunderfoot's defence was. In other words, because I'm being paid by big companies, and I've got the education to back up why I'm being paid by these big companies to do science, I can talk science to you in a debate about Christianity or whatever he was debating. Total nonsense. Appeal to Mercedes fallacy.
Well,
That's like appealing to a guild. You have to be part of the guild, or you can't title yourself like that.
Yeah, you're not in the union. You're not in the union of science, therefore you don't get to talk science. I can talk science, even though science is an empirical method of establishing cause and can be demonstrated by way of scientific experimentation. Nothing to do with the words I say or the people who employ me or the car I drive. But that's what these morons think.
Well, Arwen said it right there. It's a guild, a club, like almost a union of members that can't change the story even later when they find out all the things they were taught about the story was based on a false model. Because what are they going to say? All that money for education was wasted and be embarrassed?
Well, just not wasted. It depends on the outlook and objective of the person giving the education. Shout out to Unitox Femu, who says, plus Earth is moving through all that vacuum. Wow. Yeah, flying, hurtling at 66,000 miles per hour, whatever it is. Stupid speed through a vacuum with no container. That's just nonsense. But thank you for the super chat. You killed the conversation, Unitox Femu. I take it all back. But thank you for the super chat.
I'll take his super chat and continue on something. So, are there any natural vacuums that we can observe?
Well, there may be natural lower pressure systems that might arrive due to conditions, but a vacuum, like if you're going to define a vacuum as this supposed perfect absence of gas pressure, no, that can never be created naturally.
Yeah, I'm talking about their space vacuum. Is that at all observable, demonstrable, and measurable here?
Physical impossibility.
Wasn't it
So
attributed
then why
to...
is it reified into existence then?
Just going to say, wasn't it Aristotle that
Because
said
it needed-
nature abhors a vacuum?
Well,
Or it's
why is it
attributed
reified
to it?
into existence? Because they want you to reify it into existence and therefore have a cognitive break about how reality works. That's why.
But when you're dealing with, go ahead, Flat. Sorry.
necessarily see. That's why they work with pseudoscience. They don't first observe phenomena. They make this whole story, and then afterwards say, look, here's a vacuum. To make a whole story why it should be there, instead of observing it first.
Now, I didn't go to university or anything like that. So isn't there a study in natural sciences that has to deal with the natural world?
Yeah, you just look at that, as I've just done. Look up the quote. Horror vacui. I'm sure I'm butchering the Latin. In physics, horror vacui, or plenicism. Plenicism, is that right? Plenism? There we go. Commonly stated as nature abhors a vacuum, is the postulate attributed to Aristotle, who articulated a belief later criticised by Epicurus, that nature contains no vacuums, because the denser surrounding material would immediately fill the rarity of the implicit void. There you go.
So where did they get off talking about a vacuum when there's no proof of any of it?
Well, they just
'Cause they
violate the
made it
natural
up
law
themselves.
that dictates we wouldn't have one and claim that it's there, and then talk about gravity in the trenches even though it's not a force.
Everything they do and everything we see in the real world needs a container. A scuba diver can't take air into the water at different depths without a tank on his back. There's no way they have the space vacuum and can back it up. That's why they're losing, and that's such a great second of the top three questions. Just begging the question.
Very difficult to hear here. There's a storm brewing.
Yes, there is.
So we asked earlier how you got on with Phil, or just Phil Bell.
He just pigeon chested like he usually does. Brought up sulfur hexafluoride. You know, technically, with the second law of thermodynamics, the second law is a natural law. Sulfur hexafluoride is not natural; it's man-made. Number one. Number two, even if you would, allow it in, it's still going to increase entropy. It's just going to take a little bit longer. That's all. And it needs a container, by the way. So it's just a dog and pony show. Go ahead.
Isn't it funny though when they try to give us analogies of what's going on? They never use the thing that they're actually trying to prove. Like we don't breathe hexa. I can't even say the word. I'll let you say it. We don't breathe that. Water's not made of that. We don't breathe that. None of that's made, or we don't. It's not in the atmosphere naturally. And then they talk about centrifugal force, but that's not what the Earth is. It's not a centrifuge. And
Yeah, it's a centrifuge. Show me a centrifuge without a container.
I know. We've already talked about that. But I just think it's funny how they always use an analogy that does not really have anything to do with the reality. Their analogy doesn't.
Yeah. But that's a number of their. That usually comes right before the pigeon chest.
Hey, Paul, repeat after me. Sulfur hexafluoride.
Sulfur hexafluoride.
Sulfur
I can say it.
Hexafluoride.
I just said it. Said it. Sometimes when I'm in the middle, I have to think about the word to say it. But when I'm trying to say something, I can't think about the word necessarily. So
I wouldn't worry
my brain
too
doesn't
much.
work that way.
I wouldn't concern yourself, given that I've just butchered reading a wiki entry off my phone, messed up half the words in it. So don't concern yourself too much. I'll just do a quick shout out to Bleeding Warrior. It says, where is the flat Earth debate? Not seeing any debate. Couldn't agree more. Game over. Earth's flat.
Well, let me see if I can.
No one in Discord?
Hello?
Roll call?
Yeah, there's a whole panel full of people in Discord.
Do I sound okay?
Do you sound okay?
I want to know what Professor Bill was calling you today, QE.
What?
Whoever asked
He
if they
was
sounded
calling you
okay.
something today.
Whoever asked if they sounded
Yes.
okay, yes, you do.
I've been listening for a small while and I wanted to make a clarification about
Okay.
one of the things with entropy.
Sure, go ahead.
You said that gas not filling a vacuum is a second law of thermodynamics violation. Well, that would
Correct.
only be the case if it was what we call a free expansion. Free expansion is when you have two states that are at the same energy. When you have a vacuum, and I'm going to speak about gravity for now, but you can deal with that later. The reason we don't see it as a thermodynamics violation is because when you have two states, gas stuck to a planet and then gas free in space, there's a very large internal energy difference between those two states.
Wrong.
So if
Wrong.
we talk,
That's incorrect.
why is that wrong?
That's incorrect. It's not stuck to anything. Gases move freely and randomly at high speeds.
What is entropy difference? I'm pretty sure that entropy is universal. It's supposed to be the same everywhere. So
Oh, he
where are you
just
getting
said
this from?
He just said
Let
stuck.
me put it another way.
He said stuck because he's moving on to this invisible pseudo force called gravity. That's not a force.
Yeah. Let's get back to the
Let me
stuck
put it
thing.
another way.
Do you agree? Hold on a second. That doesn't have anything to do with entropy, by the way. It sounds like you don't know the second law of thermodynamics.
Well, let me ask you
That's
a
what
question then.
I ain't going to get into that, but go on with your story.
Okay, if you have two states with different entropies, one of low entropy and one of high entropy, does that mean that a process will occur to move the system from a state of low entropy to a state of high entropy?
That's correct.
No, it's not. You can have processes that decrease the entropy of the system. It's completely natural.
Really? Like what?
It's not
What's going to
about-
decrease the entropy of the atmosphere on the Earth?
No, you can very easily create a chemical reaction that has a negative
I'm not
change
talking
in
about a chemical
entropy.
reaction.
It's a physical process.
I'm not talking. We're talking about the atmosphere and it expanding into its available volume. We're not talking about chemical reactions. There's no delta G here.
Well, thermodynamics doesn't just work in some parts of physical chemistry, in other parts it doesn't
I
work.
didn't say it did.
Just talking specifically about how gas would fill available volume, though, in this instance when detailing second law.
Well, it doesn't fill it uniformly.
What doesn't fill what? Be specific.
So, I'm not allowed to talk about gravity here, am I, sir?
What's
Yeah, you are, but it's not going to have any effect on entropy.
Well, it has to because...
Let's say, hold on a second. So we know that gases move freely and randomly at high speeds. Do you understand that?
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay. So it has all conceivable vectors, correct?
What do you mean by all conceivable vectors?
When it moves freely and randomly in all directions, vectors at high speeds, you just said that that's true.
Yes.
So gravity, let's just allow it just for a moment. Gravity has a single vector towards the center of mass of the Earth. Do you see the contradiction?
No. Where's the contradiction?
Okay, I'm going to give it to you. All vectors, all conceivable vectors. Can something have all conceivable vectors and then only have one vector at the same time?
Okay, first of all, when you say it has all conceivable vectors, I'm assuming you mean velocities.
Gases move freely and randomly at high speeds. Vectors are directions.
Yes, I know what the vector. Gravity, when we talk about it in mechanics, it's a force vector, whereas velocity, what you call vectors, you're talking about velocity.
I'm not talking about velocity, sir. I'm talking about vectors.
Velocity is a vector, by the way. Do you mean force vectors?
What?
Velocity is a direction. Okay. How many directions does gravity have?
Well, gravity is a force vector. It has a magnitude and a direction, one direction.
What's the direction? Towards what?
Towards the center of the mass.
Okay.
This being
gases have, okay, fair enough. I'm going to say it again. Gases have all conceivable vectors.
They have one force vector on them towards the center of the Earth. And then
No,
they have
no,
their
they don't. No, they don't. You just said that they have all conceivable vectors. You agreed with me. Listen, this is a
velocity
simple
vectors, yes.
contradiction. Yeah, you're going to talk through me. No, not a problem. See, you can't have a thing, and it's not a thing anyway, gases with only one vector and then all conceivable vectors at the same time. It violates the law of non-contradiction. Thanks.
No, they have all the velocities, but they have one force vector.
You think they have an exclusively downward vector? Oh, no worries. See, I've dealt with people who think the same as you. One of them was called Thunderfoot. I'll explain it in dumbed down terms for you as QE has failed. Gas does not go down, go boom boom like bouncy balls. It expands in all directions to fill the availability of volume. Not down, go boom boom. Not single vector like with gravity. Gas doesn't do that, mate. Do you not get it? You don't watch gas fall to the ground and require sweeping up because it's gone down with vectors of gravity. You getting it? And you don't sweep gas up, mate. Sure, mate, you don't have to sweep up gas. Do you understand?
Yes, I do understand what you're attempting.
Right, so not go down, go boom boom with gravity then. You get it? All vectors, not go down, go boom boom with your gravity vector. Get it?
Well,
not needing sweeping up because of gravity, pulling it down. Not one vector, all vectors. How many bloody times?
Okay, thank you. But why then would a jar full of gas weigh more than an empty vacuum?
So you understand that gravity isn't affecting gas? Do you understand that? Not downward go boom boom like bouncy balls, not doing that. Do you concede before you ask us yet another question, given that we've answered your question and now you're talking through me? We've answered your question. Now we need you, the guy asking and having been answered kindly and politely for quite a prolonged period, to understand and appreciate and therefore concede that your gas go down, go boom boom like bouncy balls with gravity isn't how gas behaves. You understand that gravity is not applicable when dealing with gas expanding in all directions. You understand this, yes?
I can see your point.
So you understand, not see my point, you understand that gas does not go down, go boom boom with gravity. Do you understand that? I've dumbed it down for you. Gas isn't behaving like balls that need sweeping up when you pour them out. That's not what gas does. Hello? So that is not how gas behaves. Not a point I'm making, a fact of life. Now I need you to understand, because it's becoming ever more apparent that you seem stupid. Just need you to say, yeah, I understand gas doesn't need sweeping up. It's not applying a downward vector that I asserted. I'm wrong. That's what I need you to say, because you're wrong. It's not going down, go boom boom with gravity, like bouncy balls.
Gas isn't bouncy balls.
No, it expands in all directions, all vectors, not go down, go boom boom with gravity then. You understand it's not going down with gravity. Gas, that is.
Not go down, go boom boom.
Yeah, not gravity. How many times? So you understand that gravity is not in any way, shape or form affecting the entropy of gas, which does not have a downward vector. Do you understand?
May I give you some shape?
No, you can answer me. Do you understand that that's not how gas behaves, as you have asked and asserted that that is how it behaves with a downward vector? It doesn't. I need you to actually acknowledge that.
Well, I'm trying to acknowledge it.
Start with the word yes.
No.
Oh, so you're not trying to acknowledge that gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom with a single vector of gravity? You're not going to concede this?
I'm trying to make something called a counter-argument.
It's not a counter-argument. This isn't agree, disagree. You think you have to sweep up gas? Are you moronic?
No.
This isn't agree, disagree, moron. Gas doesn't need sweeping up because it's got a downward vector. Either you are stupid or you think there's a counter-argument required to this assertion that gas needs sweeping up with a downward vector of gravity. It doesn't. It's a fact of life. Are you moronic? This is a fact of life, not agree, disagree, give me a counter-argument. You're never going to argue successfully that we need to sweep up gas because it's got a downward vector. It doesn't.
I'm not trying to.
So just to concede that point then. Yes. So just say yes.
Yes, it does.
So not gravity.
Thank you.
So not gravity.
No. May I now continue?
No, I will now gloat to all the fundies on your side of this globe believing nonsense that do think gravity's holding gas go down, go boom, boom with a single vector, as conceded by this guy. No, gravity not a force holding gas here in violation of natural law, stopping it going into outer space. That's not what's happening, right, mate?
It does not need sweeping up. That is correct.
Right. So, fundies on the globe side, man who believes in globe concedes gas not going down, go boom boom, entropy definitely not affected by this not actual force. Hello? A concession. Maybe you should have his job, because he's conceded that gravity's not affecting entropy.
Okay.
What the freak up there?
Why are you talking through me, Fundy?
Question.
Why is this turned into me pointing out that your concession might leave you, by past experience, not scaremongering facts? This might leave your own side attacking your career. How does that make you feel?
I'm fine. His friends, can you...
No, you can answer me. You're fine that people on your own side, given that you've conceded gas does not go down, go boom, boom like bouncy balls in a fish tank. It's not affected by a single gravity vector of down. You have conceded that, which means that you are now open to your job being attacked, and you're fine with that.
May I tell you what I conceded?
You've conceded that gas does not go down, go boom, boom, need sweeping up with a single vector of gravity. You said yes, after I point out how moronic it is to assert a counter-argument to such a claim that gravity is affecting entropy. It isn't. That's what you conceded. Now, if you want to worm your way out of that because you might have your job attacked by your own bloody side, then fine. Maybe weasel your way out of it now.
Well, I don't have a job.
Good job, because your own side would be wanting it. Because you've conceded gravity doesn't affect entropy, so gas would fill the sky vacuum. There is no force from the trenches.
Entropy.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Just want to ask him, if he's so adamant that gravity only has one vector, then how is it that helium has a vector of opposite to gravity?
He already conceded that he doesn't, so it's kind of pointless.
No, I do.
He
He
didn't.
conceded that he doesn't
What?
have to sweep it up. That's
Yes.
what he's trying to say.
Yes.
So he's not conceded shit.
Okay.
But it's not
If
going
you don't
down.
have to
Yeah,
sweep it up, that means it's not being pulled down by gravity. So it is a concession.
Yeah, but
Right,
my
I-
point
I
is,
was saying.
Hold on, let him speak.
sorry, my point is, if they say gas is held by gravity and helium is a gas, then why is it going up and not down?
Well, a different gas is going down.
No.
Gravity.
Like what?
But so
Different
So gravity
gases? No,
selective.
they're not.
Sorry, like what? What gas is going down? My understanding about the gas we breathe is that it's anisotropic. Maybe you can tell me different. Sorry, anisotropic
I'm sorry,
mixture
can
of
you repeat
gases.
that,
You're
please?
saying there's a
Mine
layer
is
of dense
not-
gas at the
not
bottom
good.
layer being pulled down by gravity. Which gas would that be in the anisotropic mixture of gases we have? Which gas is at the bottom layer? Not the gases behave that way. Which layer you understood the understanding that is at the bottom? Going down, go boom boom like bouncy balls in a
Oh,
fish
no,
tank?
if you-
Which
if
layer?
you
What
mix
gas?
all the gases together, some
No,
gases...
no. You just said that there was a
Well, for
certain
instance,
gas
you
that was
can-
going down. Which gas would that be in the anisotropic mixture of gases we have?
No, I mean when you have all gases mixed... Well, sure, you can put CO2 in a box.
Sorry,
And-
in a box. So we don't have a gas going down, go boom boom like bouncy balls in a fish tank. You're just wrong
In an
again.
open box, yes.
You're just wrong
With
again.
The rest of
Sorry,
the
just
atmosphere
wrong
above
again, aren't you?
You can-
We don't have that in our atmosphere. We don't have gases go down, go boom boom, even though you've just made a little segue that makes no sense. Because that's not what we have, and now you're putting your little example in a box. No, mate.
Yeah, it's just like hexafluoride. It will eventually disperse.
Yeah, it's called entropy. It's not affected by gravity in the slightest.
Okay. May I ask you a question now, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so my instances of gravity affecting gas, like a jar with gas in it weighs more than a jar with a vacuum, or pressure decreases as you increase elevation, exactly as you would expect with normal mechanics. Like gas is a fluid. We understand fluid dynamics very well. Like,
Hold
it's
on a
not something
second.
new.
Gases are not liquids. Gases, even though they're arbitrarily classified as fluids, gases and liquids are not the same.
Liquids.
And even for gas, wait a minute. And even for gas to act like a fluid, it has to be under pressure.
Forget
Which would require a container.
Oh, hold on. Let him
Hydrostatic.
speak, because he's moving to gas pressure gradients. You're moving to gas pressure gradients. That's not our question. Our question is, how do you have gas pressure without a container? In other words, define gas pressure.
Gas pressure, it's just the average of the force that particles hit you with in a gas.
From chemistry
force over
department
area.
at Elmhurst University. I'm going to define it for you with citations. The pressure of a gas is a force that the gas exerts on the walls of its container. From NASA, gas pressure. The molecules are in constant random motion and frequently collide with each other in the walls of the container. Because the molecules are in motion, a gas will expand to fill the container. Since density is defined to be the mass divided by the volume, density depends directly on the size of the container in which a fixed mass of gas is confined. Kinetic molecular theory, back to chemistry at Elmhurst. The rapid motion and collision of molecules with the walls of the container causes pressure, force per unit area. That's surface area. And lastly, Chem Libre text, gas pressure. Pressure is caused by gas molecules hitting the walls of the container. Good?
Yes, that's good.
Yeah.
So if the sky was
Okay.
a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the availability of volume it has to fill by way of entropy increase.
No, because we're going back to the difference in internal energy between the two states. It's a huge energy difference, by the way.
Yeah, so the gas would want to expand in all directions given the high amount of energy that it has and the availability of volume it has to disperse into. That would be an entropy
It doesn't
increase, though,
have
wouldn't
enough
it?
energy to
Yeah,
fill the
that
space.
before you interrupt me, that would be an entropy increase, though, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah, so the gas would fill the space. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill it.
No, entropy is not the only factor. That's not good physical chemistry. Entropy
natural
is
law.
not the only factor.
Natural law.
There's a large.
Not good chemistry.
There is no chemical. Hold on. There is no We're back to this. You're circle jerking us back. There are no chemical reactions. Let me ask you a question. Can you have entropy increase without a change in energy or temperature?
No.
Yes, you can.
Without change in energy, entropy will increase. Yes.
No, yeah, yes, the correct answer is yes, you can. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yes, like free expansion, for instance.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about here.
Yes, this is not an instance of free expansion.
So the
It's not an
expansion of a
entropy.
gas. So let me get it
Why
straight.
isn't-
Let me get it straight.
Oh,
You
God.
believe that the high pressure gas we're breathing and its claimed availability of a sky vacuum to expand into isn't described as free expansion. That's what you're claiming.
Correct. Because
Why would that be? Because is it because my bad? Is it because that you assume it's not expanding into it?
No, it's because they have different internal energies. It's not free expansion.
What
Free
has
expansion is
different
what we-
internal energies?
What?
What
I'm sorry,
has
can you repeat?
different internal energies?
The state of the atmosphere being near the Earth and the state with a gas filling the space.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. It will attempt to fill the available volume. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying won't happen due to the difference in internal energy of those two states.
You have high energy to low energy. High energy on the Earth going to low energy. That's the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah,
it will
he's-
spontaneously go that way.
He's saying no. No. That's what he's saying.
You don't know.
What
You don't
I'm saying
understand the
is-
second law of thermodynamics. That's the problem.
Well, here's the thing, though. Isn't free expansion mean it's unhindered?
Yes.
Like, okay, so if it's not free expanding, there's something hindering it. What is that thing hindering it?
A container.
No, I want him to
Gravity.
answer it. I want him to answer it. What's preventing the free expansion?
It's the gravity. The gravity is what causes the energy difference
We already
between the
went through
states.
gravity.
We dealt with that,
Yeah,
didn't we, though? We dealt with that. Gravity doesn't make gas go down, go boom, boom. It doesn't need sweeping up.
Yeah. Let's circle jerk.
Yeah, circle jerking.
Circle jerk. We could go to gravity if you want. You want to scientifically validate which type of gravity are you talking about?
No, let's not do that.
No, let's. Go ahead, my friend. Which gravity? Which gravity are you referring to? There's a couple.
Oh God.
We've got gravity stopping the free expansion. So what gravity? Which gravity do you refer of?
I mean, surely you know.
No.
Well, he did say force vector. He did say force vector. So he's actually appealing to the universal law of gravitation. Is that correct?
Force vector.
Well, somehow he thinks entropy is ordered.
Hold on a second.
Is he describing geodesics in space-time, or is he describing force? Which one is it? We don't know. He hasn't answered. Still here?
What's the guy's name?
Don't know.
Dumbass.
No need, Neil. But yeah. Circle jerker.
Anybody know who we were just talking to?
You should name this episode "Horsing Around."
Well, we're trying to find out who it is, okay? Thanks. Who was speaking, please?
No, who wasn't speaking?
We've clearly reached the end of the road. We've already pummeled it without having to pummel what gravity is claimed to be anyway. There's no effect against entropy with everything.
You pummeled straw man.
What?
Oh, we're hearing mutterings of straw man.
What are you going to do? White
Is
Knight?
it the same guy?
Maybe
No,
that
that
sounds like White Knight to me.
That sounds like Butthead.
Oh, Beavis. Or Butthead. Which one?
Hey, QE, he was talking
Like
about
the
two different energies. Now, in a vacuum, does he have a point? Is there any energy in the vacuum?
I don't know what the hell he was talking about, dude.
Well, obviously, you have in their pseudo belief a sky vacuum, and we have air pressure here on Earth. And Paul's question was pertinent: what's keeping it on Earth versus filling the available space? And then he was saying two different states of energy. So I'm trying to say, all right. So we got gas pressure as referred to one state of energy, and then obviously there's only one left, which is the sky vacuum. So I didn't think that a vacuum had any energies at all. What was he trying to say there? How could the pressure not go to low pressure?
Don't know. You have to ask him.
Well, I was, but he left.
Yeah, it's just talking nonsense. A couple of super chat shout outs now. It's calmed down a bit. Al Junkie, shout out to you, my friend. He says, what comes before round table? Ranty. Hashtag rantycedent. Thank you very much for the super chat. Al Junkie. Also, shout out to... Scroll down and find the next one. Here we go. Unicorn Laser Eyes. This globe just fall down, go boom boom. Thank you very much for the super chat, Unicorn Laser Eyes. Really appreciate the support.
I got a shameless plug.
Go ahead.
Yeah, today on Quantum Eraser channel at 1 p.m. U.S. Central, 7 p.m. UK, it's a debate/discussion in the arena between me and Cal, K-A-L. So be here or be sphere.
I will be there.
So 7 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Central Standard. Be here or be sphere on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel for a debate between Al and Quantum Eraser.
Cal.
Come and listen.
Oh, Cal.
How to
Cal.
guide back.
My bad. Sacred sacrilege. You can't interrupt the plug, Neil. This is bad news.
How dare you, Neil?
How dare you interrupt the plug?
Kick him!
Hold on a second, Neil. Shout out to Retro Bill. Wild E Coyote proves that gravity does not work till you look down. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support, Retro Bill. Go ahead, Neil.
I was just saying, if freaking Ed would come and listen, he'll learn how a baller should act.
Nathan, don't be hard on
Really
Neil.
bad example, Neil. This is really bad.
Nathan, don't be hard on Neil. The reason he interrupted your plug is because this show is his only outlet.
I see.
Jeez.
Shout out to.
You're right.
Hold on one sec. Shout out to. Is it Fenrir? Hope I haven't said your name incorrect. Acceleration causes a force. Copyright Globers in Discord. Okie dokie.
Fenrir.
Fenrir. Woo.
Say again. How do you say his name or her name?
Yeah, Fenrir.
Fenrir.
It's German. Fenrir.
Ah, okay.
It's the wolf of. Again. What I was talking about. Ragnarok. It's the wolf of Ragnarok. It's called Fenrir. Fenrir the wolf that causes Ragnarok.
Cool. Well, thank you very much indeed for your support. Also, shout out to Matthew Eastman, who says, "Hey guys, how are sun rays not circumstantial evidence to distance from any one circumstance?" I don't know. I don't know. Anybody want to care to answer that?
No, answer what? Wasn't a question.
It had 2 question marks. Hey guys, how are sun rays not circumstantial evidence to distance ? From any one circumstance ?
Well, you have to establish an origin point. The only real way to establish a distance to a presumed object is to actually establish distance. Just light. You can't just derive from light where the location of something is. You have to have a little bit more than that. The angular size increase and then a consistent pattern, at it as you move in a direction. That would be a real hint. Just light, you can't just derive a distance just from light alone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's asking how long's a piece of string.
Okay. Didn't get that out of that, but
Yeah, we need some more information is the point.
Well, you'd have to measure a piece of string.
Yeah, if we had a piece of string to the sun, that would be quite handy.
That would help if it was tangible.
It would help if it was tangible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be
What do
handy.
you mean? You can't vary and manipulate things that aren't tangible? What you mean? They do that all day on the globe, apparently.
no, they don't.
Yeah, they observe them. They observe them moving.
Look,
They
we
don't
have to-
very manipulate things that aren't tangible. They just say you don't need to very manipulate anything tangible in order to have science. That's their standpoint.
Right.
They
We
don't
work on the
claim to
really is
very
level.
manipulate anything. They know they don't.
Yeah, exactly. We like to work on the really is level as opposed to on the conceptual level.
I mean, I don't know why they're even doing science. I mean, I was just told by
they
Professor
don't.
Phil that science has approved things. So
Ed,
Alright,
do you
so
have
where's the-
anything logical to say, Ed?
Go on, you can have the last word, Ed.
You were talking about only dealing in really is and not conceptions and stuff. So where's the dome?
What dome? Nobody's claimed there's a dome. With that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in live on Nathan Oakley 1980. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley or Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately for you watching live, this is where we bid you farewell. Massive thanks for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!